Hello and welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast, designed to help business owners and leaders with short atomic episodes to impact your business for marketing, sales, business growth, personal growth, and much, much more. I'm your host, Jason Osborne, and I'm looking forward for your business and life to be positively impacted by this podcast. And as a thank you, just for listening, I'd like to give you free access to my LinkedIn mini course to help you get on the right track with LinkedIn to generate high quality leads without being spammy. All you need to do is go to www.impactforleads.com to get immediate access. Now, let's jump into today's episode. Hey, welcome to today's session of the Atomic Impact Podcast. It is my pleasure to have Simon Haigh on the show today. Simon is a growth strategist helping businesses and leaders grow through business leadership, brand, and mindset growth. I'm really looking forward to having this chat with you today. Simon, welcome so much to the podcast.
Thanks a lot, Jason. It's great to be here. And that's a bit of a mouthful when you introduced me, but it's great to see you. Anyway, it's good to see you.
Good. Excellent. Well, listen, I'm really excited. I know we were chatting a little bit just before we started recording here, and we're kind of talking a little bit around matching confidence with your capability. And I think that's a really intriguing concept. And I'd love for you to just share over the next kind of 10, 15 minutes, and we can just kind of chat back and forth. But explain a little bit more about that, because I know you'd mentioned Marshall Goldsmith kind of chatting you through that process. So just share with people what impact did it have for you, and how is it not only how has it helped you, not only in your business and personal life, but how do you think other people can apply that in their business and life as well?
So thanks, Jason. And I could literally talk for hours on this, but we've got a short time. So put it this way. I mean, particularly now in these circuit breaker times, we're all so disconnected, and there's all these issues around diversity and inclusion and gender balance, and people are fearful of the future. Okay. And the more people I coach and mentor, the more I find out that one overlying theme that comes through most people, nearly everybody, is confidence. Our confidence is being shattered and broken. And so many people have what's called the imposter syndrome, and it's not just women, it's not just men, it's everybody of every age, and that applied to me. If people look at my LinkedIn profile, I've received a number of accolades for my work. I've written books. I've done all this great stuff on my LinkedIn. What people don't really know is that I've suffered from those things as well, huge anxiety, imposter syndrome as well. And it was only January last year that I started talking about this on LinkedIn and writing about this stuff and talking about my fears and some of the dramas I've been through. So that's kind of the backdrop. And it was about a year ago when lockdown started first time, March last year. I've got all these books and accolades and stuff. And I was very fortunate 5 years ago to connect with the world's #1 leadership thinker, Marshall Goldsmith. I did it through LinkedIn, the power of LinkedIn, because I wrote an ebook at the time. And to my amazement, he came back and said, I'll do the forward. So I built a relationship with him over 5 years, which he's basically my angel, effectively. He's been my mentor. And a year ago, he said, I was chatting with him and I said, Marshall, I'm kind of at the end of the driveway looking at all these thought leaders inside the house. How do I get there? And he said, you need to match your confidence with your capability. Go to this website, globalgurus.com, find all these thought leaders, approach 40 and interview them on podcast. And that's what I did from April till about July, August last year. And as a result of that, I think more than any other thing, my profile has improved. I've received a number of accolades. All that's the external stuff. But internally, for the first time in my life at the age of 53, I do feel that my confidence and my capability are matching. And I've realized that, and this is what I do when I coach and mentor people, my passion is to demonstrate to people that if you do certain things around self-awareness and resilience and assertiveness, you can quite quickly surprise yourself and close that gap between confidence and capability. So that's kind of a background.
That's amazing. I think what you said around, looking at people's profiles, and I think we're all, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or anything really, it's really easy to look at what other people have done or what they're posting. I know we all know this, but people post all the good stuff. We're not going to talk about, oh man, I actually had a really down day today. I was questioning my ability to actually am I actually good enough for this stuff? Or, I mean, and the other thing as well, when people have clients, sometimes you have challenging clients, and, and you think, God, can I actually help these people? They've come back and they're saying that what I'm kind of coaching them through is not working. And even though it works, you've done it for so many other people, and we can take that on really personally, especially coaching. For any coaches, I know other businesses that when they go in and provide a service or a product or whatever, sometimes people, they can take it real personal around that, because they genuinely want to help.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I agree. I agree.
yeah, so what are some steps then that you've gone through, taking that advice of matching your confidence with your capability? What are one or two specific things that you've done that you think other business owners and business leaders can apply to their life to be able to increase their confidence to match their capability?
So there's a number of things, but the two that come first to mind, number one, right, is about your own boundaries, right? It's about setting your own boundaries. And I learned this, that, I went through a form of therapy a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, with an amazing guy over here called Justin Caffrey. And that was about finding out that most of the negative things that have happened to me, most of the dramas that have happened to me through my life that have caused me to feel more fearful and lose confidence were actually caused by me, right? So I had to analyze that stuff and create boundaries, right? Create boundaries to protect me. So I now use 3 words, right? Before I go into a collaboration or a partnership, whatever, I now use 3 words, and I say, and these are self-tests for me. And the other person or the organization has to satisfy all of these 3. It's not 1 or 2, right? Do I like them? I need to like them, right? And B, I need to respect them. And C, I need to trust them, right? And if all of those 3 things aren't lined up, I just don't get involved. And in the past, I used to sort of let 1 or 2 of them go, or it doesn't matter that I don't trust this person because he's got lots of money and he's going to take me on a journey with him or her. Every time it failed. And I've noticed since doing that, haven't had any dramas. I haven't argued with anybody. Nobody's failed, touching wood. That's the first thing. The second thing then is assertiveness. And this is really huge, right? So, and this is something I've had to learn. So there's a difference between assertiveness in the middle, passiveness on the left, and aggressiveness on the right. So there's 3 states: passiveness, assertiveness, and aggressiveness. And if you're passive in life and a bit meek and a bit of a people pleaser, which is what I naturally am, right? I don't like offending people. The messenger gets shot eventually, right? You end up getting trodden on, right? Conversely, if you get too aggressive, people don't see you as being trustworthy, right? So you need to be in the middle, assertive. And so I guess this is my key power tip: is what is assertiveness? Nobody teaches this. Assertiveness is getting your message. So there's 2 parts to it: getting your message across, your mind, whatever you want or need or desire. That's the first part. But the second part is in a way that's respectful of the person you're dealing with. So if I were talking to you, Jason, I wouldn't be saying, I want you to post this today, and if you don't, you're an idiot, right? That's aggressive. I would say, Jason, it would be great if you could post this today. Let's keep in touch, right? So that's me being direct, but being respectful of you. And I think if people practice those three words: trust, respect, like, personally, and think in terms of assertiveness in 2 parts, you really can see some change quite quickly. But you need to keep practicing this stuff every day.
Yeah, and that's really amazing tips. So I like that there is the passive, assertive, and then that aggressive bit. And I think with most things in life, there's always that middle ground that you need to find. And you know my mind's kind of going a couple different ways with here. So, okay, I know you have connected with a lot of people. You've been this year, I think you're in the top 100 for thought leaders in
200,
top 200, and which is amazing. So you've actually obviously been able to connect with people and create kind of those strategic alliances through that. So for people that are wanting to grow and connect with people, because oftentimes, as you said, you can have that imposter syndrome. And when you have that imposter syndrome and you're wanting to connect and connect strategically with people that you perceive are quote unquote better than you or
Yeah.
higher than you or more capable than you, it's easy to definitely not be aggressive because you're like, oh, I can't be because they're quote unquote better than me. But it's hard to even be assertive because you're like, well, maybe they don't respect me. And then you go passive, but oftentimes that doesn't work either because you're not direct enough. So when people are wanting to connect strategically with people that they may perceive are in a place further down the road, maybe in a place they'd like to be in the future. What are some tips around that for people to, as you said, increase their confidence with their capability to be able to create those strategic partnerships?
So there's lots of things. I mean, the first thing I need to say is that you do need to have credibility, right? So, I mean, if you want to connect with Marshall Goldsmith or the people I've interviewed, John Matone or Sally Helgeson, these kind of people, they're only really, I shouldn't be talking for them, but they are more inclined to look at you if you have, some credibility on your LinkedIn. It doesn't mean you need to be a PhD, but you need to have some sort of credibility, right? You do need to have that.
Yeah.
So you have to have put in the groundwork. You have to have worked hard, right? And I talk about strategic serendipity, right? It's another way of saying making your own luck. People say, if you work hard, you make your own luck. I call it strategic serendipity. So you have to have done the work, right? I don't know about you, but I've never received £1 million or euro in my bank account for doing nothing. So you have to work hard. You have to, get the qualifications or write something or do something that thought leaders will see that you've done, right? That's the first thing. The second thing then is you mustn't be afraid of asking, right? So, and I used to be terrified of asking. I used to be thinking, well, they're just going to say no. And then I completely changed my mindset in the last year. And when you think about it, Jason, right, if you don't ask, right, if you didn't ask me, right, we would never have had this chat. So it would have been 100% no, right? But you asked me, right? And the answer was 50%. I could have said yes or no. So just by asking, you increase it by 50%, right? So ask, just ask. Like, I mean, I approached 40, nearly 50 thought leaders through Global Gurus, right? I thought I might get 2 or 3 come back. I end up interviewing 40, right? Now, I don't tell people that there are 8 people that didn't. 2 weren't that pleasant. 2 never responded. 2 kind of put me on the long finger. But I don't focus on that. I focus on the 40. So it's about that self and situational awareness. You just need to have confidence. You need to create what you have. You need to have that ground set. You need to ask. And then I guess the third thing then is you need to create a mindset of influence. You need to be an influencer, right? And there's a difference between persuasion. So persuasion can have negative undertones, right?
Yeah.
Political leaders can persuade, right, and bring nations behind them, and often it's negative. But an influencer is somebody who basically gives, like a Steve Jobs was an influencer. There's something about that person, right? There's something about you as well. Like, I don't really know your background, right, but this is a good interview, and I think your podcast is a great idea. So there's something about you that drew me to this conversation, right? It's kind of a magical, mysterious thing, and it's a perception thing. So I think they're the 3 main things. Is you need to put in the groundwork first, right? If you just approach Marshall Goldsmith and you have no qualifications and you've done nothing, he's not going to respond, right? Yeah. The second thing is just ask and see what happens. And the third thing is you need to give off this honest aura that there's something about you. And I would say at least 1 times out of 10, something will come back, even if you just do that.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. There's so many things in there, gold nuggets that you had in there. But I tell you, if anyone listening to this, the one thing that I think is just amazing is you increase your odds of success by 50% by just asking.
Exactly.
Which if people just think about that. Like, why wouldn't you ask then? Because and I tell people the same thing. It's a no anyway if you don't ask, because they don't have the opportunity to say yes. So you're saying their no for them, and so that's just.
It also builds on it itself. And it's funny watching this, right? I go on a tangent a little bit, but it's funny, a year ago I only had 4,000, 5,000 followers on LinkedIn. I've more than trebled it, right, in a year. And it's not just about numbers, but it's funny watching. People are like sheep, right? So when I sent messages out a year ago with 4,000 followers to thought leaders, the response would be, who are you, kind of thing. Now, It's very different. It's, oh, Simon, let's have a chat kind of thing. But this takes time. It builds and builds. It's like that snowball going down a mountain. And I'm not, it's going to take me for the rest of my life. This is a life's journey thing. But think in terms of from today, anybody who's watching this, how do I start this snowball going down the mountain today? Ask questions, build your profile, and think, how do I influence? But be patient.
Yeah, that's awesome, because it does take time and all that. And I think the other thing as well, that you kind of alluded to is, when you are speaking to people and wanting to connect with people, oftentimes, because I get messages like this, I'm sure you do as well, where people will connect, they'll ask you something, and they're purely asking you to help them. And when you look at connecting with anyone, really, to be honest, but particularly with people that you feel they have more to give to you than you have to give to them, don't just ask them for that, because they get those types of requests all the time.
Exactly.
So, I mean, as a matter of fact, just before we got on this podcast, I received a LinkedIn connection request from someone who said, "Hey, I'm looking to connect with marketing experts like yourself to grow my network." And I was like, so you're wanting to use me to grow your network? Like, why would I connect with you that way?
Absolutely. And I have the same mindset, I mean, honestly, and the more your profile goes up, the more you get these spams. I probably get 20 to 30 a day now through LinkedIn, and I ignore all of them. But when I get somebody like you, right, you connected with me, and I thought, that's interesting. And clearly, we're both helping each other doing this, right?
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And what do you feel? You feel good in your gut. You feel authentic. Everybody's going to see your stuff, and people are going to see my stuff. That's not doing me down. That's not doing you down. We're just helping each other.
Exactly.
And that's the mindset flip. I mean, I used to be a rotten capitalist, right? I was a senior commercial lawyer, and I just thought about myself through my 20s, 30s, 40s. And as you get to 53, and Marshall Goldsmith was a great example. I think he's around 70. And if you've been number one thought leader for 7, 8 years, right? Nobody can get to you ego-wise. Like, you've got nothing more to prove. So all he's doing now is giving back. And what better thing to do than if you give back, you attract. It's a marketing tool.
Yeah, it is. It's so true. Listen, Simon, I think we've come up to our 15 minutes. You've dropped so much good value in there, so many things that people can just take away and implement into their own, not only business, but in their life as well. So for people that want to know a bit more about you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Probably LinkedIn, because I'm addicted to being active on LinkedIn. So you can find me, Simon Haigh, Haigh on LinkedIn, the growth strategist, or alternatively my website, Simon Haigh, Haigh.com, all one word. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, but mainly LinkedIn and my website.
Yeah. And just as a tip, anyone that's wanting to connect with Simon, don't just send a blank connection request, because he doesn't know who's sending it. So send a message, take the 5 seconds and say, "Hey, Simon, I heard you on the podcast with Jason. I'd love to connect with you because you added lots of value." And I guarantee Simon will accept that connection, where if it's just a blank random connection request, right, people, he won't know, and he could say, "Oh, here's another person trying to spam me." So just a tip if you want him to connect with you. So listen, Simon, thanks so much for being on the podcast. Absolutely brilliant to have you on. I wish you all the best, and I'm sure we'll chat later. Okay.
Thanks very much. Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Atomic Impact Podcast. And as a reminder, please go to www.impactforleads.com to get free access to my LinkedIn mini course to help you get on the right track with LinkedIn to generate high quality leads without being spammy. And please also like and share this episode with others, and leave a comment, as I'd love to hear from you. This is Jason Osborne, and I look forward to sharing the next episode of the Atomic Impact Podcast with you.